What is good, YouTube? It's your boy Flames back at it again. Another Bible reading video. And today, we're about to be reading out of 2 Kings, chapters 23 and 24. Without further ado, let's get right to it. Josiah's reforms. Then the king sent, and all the elders of Judah and Jerusalem were gathered to him. And the king went up to the house of the Lord, and with him all the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and the priests and the prophets, all the people, both small and great. And he read in their hearing all the words of the book of the covenant that had been found in the house of the Lord. And the king stood by the pillar and made a covenant before the Lord, to walk after the Lord and to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all his heart and all his soul, to perform the words of this covenant that were written in this book. And all the people joined in the covenant. And the king commanded Hilkiah the high priest, to the priests of the second order, and the priests of the second order, and the keepers of the threshold, to bring out of the temple of the Lord all the vessels made for Baal, for Asherah, and for all the host of heaven. He burned them outside Jerusalem in the fields of Kidron, and carried their ashes to Bethel. And he deposed the priests whom the kings of Judah had ordained to make offerings in the high places at the cities of Judah and around Jerusalem. Those who burn and also those also who burn incense to Baal, to the sun and the moon and the constellations and all the hosts of the heavens. And he brought out the Asherah from the house. Hey, what does that sound similar to? Astrology, maybe? Right? I mean, I'm just saying, right? This is problems that people were having way back in the Second Kings. These times were so long ago, bro. Thousands and thousands of years ago, and it's the same things being reciprocated, bro. The same rituals, the same stuff is still happening at the low levels, at the elites, right? It's all still a thing. All of this stuff never went away, right? That's why people tweak out, and that's why these politicians and all these people and all these famous people, they tweak out when they hear the word Jesus. They tweak. They tweak. And then when one of them says something about it, something about Jesus, there's a shift in that person. Because it's silencing. It's crazy stuff. If you really look into it, it's insane. Kanye is a great example of this, bro. Y'all think Kanye on his own was tweaking out like that? It's part of an agenda, bro. There's a clip. If you go on and you look up on your phone or somewhere, look up Kanye West, like his last Jesus freestyle that he did at a concert, and go look at that and really pay attention to the lyrics. And everything he said is very true. And it's really crazy. It's really, really crazy stuff. Okay. Um, let's see. Where was I? And he brought out the Asher from the house of the Lord outside Jerusalem to the brook Kidron, and burned it at the brook Kidron, and beat it to dust, and cast the dust off it upon the graves of the common people. And he broke down the houses of the male prostitutes who were in the house of the Lord, where the women wove hangings for the Asherah. And he brought all the priests out of the cities of Judah, and defiled the high places where the priests had made offerings from Geba to Beersheba. And he broke down the high places of the gates that were at the entrance of the gate of Joshua, the governor of the city, which were on one's left at the gate of the city. However, the priests of the high places did not come up to the altar of the Lord in Jerusalem, for they ate unleavened bread among their brothers. And he defiled Topheth, which is in the valley of the son of Hinnom, that no one might burn his son or daughter as an offering to Moloch. Moloch was a child sacrifice deity. Um, it's just really, really messed up stuff. And they removed the horses that the kings of Judah had dedicated to the sun at the entrance to the house of the Lord, for the chamber of Nathan Melech the chamberlain, which was in the cricknets. And he burned the chariots of the sun with fire, and the altars on the roof of the upper chamber of Ahaz, which the kings of Judah had made, and the altars that Manasseh had made, and the two courts of the house of the Lord, he pulled down and broke in pieces, and cast the dust of them into the brook Kidron. And the king defiled the high places that were east of Jerusalem, to the south of the Mount of Corruption, which Solomon the king of Israel had built for Ashtoreth, the abomination of the Sidonians, and for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, and for Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And he broke in pieces the pillars, and cut down the Asherim, and filled their places with the bones of men. Moreover, the altar at Bethel, the high place erected to Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin, that altar with the high place that he put down and burned, reducing it to dust. He also burned the Asherah. And as Josiah turned, he saw the tombs there on the mount, and he sent and took the bones out of the tombs, and burned them on the altar, and defiled it, according to the word of the Lord that the man of God proclaimed, who had predicted these things. That he said, "What is that monument that I see?" And the men of the city told him, "It is the tomb of the man of God who came from Judah and predicted these things that you have done against the altar at Bethel." And he said, "Let him be, let no man move his bones." So they let his bones alone, with the bones of the prophet who came out of Samaria. And Josiah removed all the shrines of the high places that were in the cities of Samaria, which kings of Israel had made, provoking the Lord to anger. He did to them according to all that he had done in Bethel, and he sacrificed all the priests of the high places who were there on the altars, and burned human bones on them. Jeez. Then he returned to Jerusalem. That's crazy. Okay. Josiah restores the Passover. And the king commanded all the people, "Keep the Passover to the Lord your God, as it is written in this book of the covenant. For no such Passover has been kept since the days of the judges who judged Israel, or during all the days of the kings of Israel or of the kings of Judah." Um, but in the 18th year of King Josiah, this Passover was kept to the Lord in Jerusalem. So the Passover is what they used in Egypt for the angel or whoever it was that was going to kill all the Egyptian people in their sleep. They were supposed to leave a marking on their door for them to skip their houses. Essentially, that is how the Passover came to start, and people still practice it to this day. Like Orthodox Jews do still practice it to this day. Okay. Moreover, Josiah put away okay. Let's see. Moreover, Josiah put away all the mediums and the necromancers and the household gods and the idols and all the abominations that were seen in the land of Judah and in Jerusalem, that he might establish the words of the law that were written in the book that Hilkiah the priest found in the house of the Lord. Before him there was no king like him, who turned to the Lord with all his heart and with all his soul and all his might, according to the law of Moses, nor did any like him arise after him. Still the Lord did not turn from the burning of his great wrath, which his anger was kindled against Judah, because all the provocations with which Manasseh had provoked him. And the Lord said, "I will remove Judah also out of my sight, as I have removed Israel, and I will cast off the city that I have chosen, Jerusalem, and the house of which I said, my name shall be there." Josiah's death in battle. Now, all the rest of the acts of Josiah and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? In his days, Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, went up to the king of Assyria to the river Euphrates. King Josiah went to meet him, and Pharaoh Necho killed him at Megiddo as soon as he saw him. And his servants carried him dead in a chariot from Megiddo and brought him to Jerusalem and buried him in his own tomb. And the people of the land took Jehoahaz, the son of Josiah, and anointed him and made him king in his father's place. Jehoahaz reigned in captivity Jehoaz was 23 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Hamudal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah, and he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done. And Pharaoh Necho put him uh, in bonds at Riblah in the land of Hamath, that he might not reign in Jerusalem, and laid on the land a tribute of 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold. And Pharaoh Necho made Eliakim son of Josiah king in the place of Josiah his father, and changed his name to Jehoiakim. But he took Jehoaz away, and he came to Egypt and died there. And Jehoiakim gave the silver and the gold to Pharaoh, but he taxed the land to give the money according to the command of Pharaoh. He exacted the silver and the gold of the people of the land from everyone according to his assessment to give to Pharaoh Necho. So, from my understanding, it seems like he had to pay off Pharaoh in order to leave them alone, I guess. Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Zibidah, the daughter of Pedaiah of Rumah, and he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers have done. Okay, this is chapter 24 now. Pretty short chapter. I'm just going to cling on to this video. In his days, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up, and Jehoiakim became his servant for 3 years. Then he turned and rebelled against him, and the Lord sent against him hands of the Chaldeans and hands of the Syrians, and not hands. Sent him bands of the Chaldeans and bands of the Syrians and bands of the Moabites and bands of the Ammonites, and sent them against Judah to destroy it, according to the word of the Lord that he spoke by his servants to the prophets, his servants the prophets. Surely this came upon Judah at the command of the Lord to remove them out of his sight for the sins of Manasseh, according to all that he had done, and also for the innocent blood that he had shed. For he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, and now the Lord would not pardon. And now the rest of the deeds of Jehoiakim and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? So Jehoiakim slept with his fathers, and Jehoiachin, his son, reigned in his place. And the king of Egypt did not come again out of his land. For the king of Babylon had taken all that belonged to the king of Egypt, from the brook of Egypt to the river Euphrates. Wow, so at this time Babylon completely ruled over Egypt. Jehoiachin reigns in Judah. Jehoiachin was 18 years old when he became king, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Nehushta, the daughter of Elnathan of Jerusalem, and he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all his father had done. Jerusalem captured. At the time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to the city while his servants were besieging it. And Jehoiachin, the king of Judah, gave himself up to the king of Babylon, himself and his mother and his servants and his officials and his palace officials. The king of Babylon took him prisoner in the 8th year of his reign, and carried off all the treasures of the house of the Lord and the treasures of the king's house, and cut into pieces all the vessels of gold in the temple of the Lord, which Solomon, king of Israel, had made, as the Lord had foretold. So this was all prophesied to happen due to the sins that were starting off with Manasseh. Um, he carried away all Jerusalem and all the officials and all the mighty men of valor, 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen and the smiths. None remained except the poorest people of the land. And he carried away Jehoiachin to Babylon, king's mother, the king's wives, his officials, and the chief men of the land. He took into captivity from Jerusalem to Babylon. And the king of Babylon brought captive to Babylon all the men of valor, 7,000, the craftsmen and the metalworkers, 1,000, and all of them strong and fit for war. And the men of Babylon made to Mattananah, Jehoiachin's uncle, king in his place, and changed his name to Zedekiah. Zedekiah reigns in Judah. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he became king, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Hamutal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that Jehoiakim had done. For because of the anger of the Lord, it came to the point in Jerusalem and Judah that he cast them out from his presence. And Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. Okay, that was the end of this chapter. I appreciate y'all for watching. I read kind of slow today, so sorry about that, but I appreciate if you're still here. I appreciate you. Um, and yeah, that is it for these chapters. Thank y'all for watching. I love you, and I'm gonna catch y'all tomorrow. Peace.